welcome to this special edition of Young Turks. I'm Shereen Bhan, and joining me now on the program is Bipul Sinha of Rubrik. Very, very interesting story that started at IIT Kharagpur, went on to Wharton, and then 27 years ago, Bipul moved to the US. He's seen all sides of the startup ecosystem, a venture capitalist to now an entrepreneur and founder. Bipul, always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us here on Young Turks. Let me start by asking you about that. How does a boy from northern Bihar make it to the US and now, to a listed entity in the US?
First of all, thank you so much for this opportunity. Very fortunate. I mean, I grew up in northern Bihar. My dad was an entrepreneur. It didn't work out for him, but he had that drive and ambition, and he really taught us in terms of dream big, and your current circumstances are not the deterrent to an ultimate success, and encouraged me to drop out after high school and prepare for IIT. I failed for the first time and then made it the second time. And that really changed the fortune of my family and my career trajectory.
You know, easier said than done, though. I know you just said that your father said you shouldn't be a prisoner of your circumstances, and I know that many of us would want to believe that, and many of us work towards that. But what was it that made you sort of ignore the deterrence, the challenges, the obstacles, and be clear about the path that you wanted to follow?
And it was truly, I mean, I'm sitting here talking to you. I'm the spokesperson of my dad's ambition, because he had this supreme belief in a kid that had no high school, middle school, real education, no good grades. But he had this belief that I would amount to something, and it is in me to go out and achieve that. And you know, belief is a very powerful thing. Sometimes we forget of this belief and this ability to manifest things based on this ultimate idea that you can do it. And he taught me very early on that you can become what you really thought of yourself to be.
What are you manifesting today?
I mean, in some ways, starting Rubrik, 4 of us sat in a room with a whiteboard, and from that point 10 years ago to over 3,000 people, more than 6,000 customers, we guided public market to over $1 billion in ARR in just 8.5 years of selling. I mean, many of it is obviously a lot of hard work and ambition of all of the Rubricans, but we clearly manifested this company, and now we are in the second chapter as a public company.
Well, you know, speaking of that second chapter, I remember that you wrote saying that 2024 you listed, but it's like going back to 2014, because you will have to continue to operate with that mindset of driving growth, of creating momentum and building on momentum. What has life been like, listing, post-listing, and more importantly, to many people who are watching here, because we've seen a spate of IPOs in India. What's the lesson?
Look, going IPO is a milestone in the journey, and in some ways it's the rebirth of the company, because people who put money when you go public, for example, in Rubrik's case, we have pension funds, somebody's college fund, somebody, single mother in Ohio, is putting her hard savings into Rubrik. We have to deliver to them. She doesn't care that we went from zero to IPO, because that doesn't create any return. So I actually called all hands meeting after IPO, and I told every employee that old Rubrik is dead. We have been reborn as a public company, and now we have to go create an outcome for the new set of investors who are looking at us to create returns for them. So in some ways, the risk posture, the mentality, the drive, the edginess of the company is same as 2014. We have to go create an outcome.
But you look at risk differently today as a public company versus when you were private?
There are two kinds of risk. One risk is that, are we taking enough risk to move the agenda of the products and the market? We have to have the same mindset. But we have to reduce the disruption mindset, because when you have no asset, you are at your disruptive max. But now we have an asset. So in addition to an entrepreneur and disruptor, we are also an asset manager. So we can't take too much disruptive risk, because it can destroy the asset.
But it's a fine balance, isn't it?
Entrepreneurship is always a fine balance between visionary and craziness.
So what do you believe the job of a CEO is today?
The job of the CEO is a singular-minded pursuit of market transition. In my mind, the product market fit is dead. We are living in an age of acceleration. It took Microsoft 25 years to become a household name. Facebook, it took 2 years. ChatGPT took 3 months.
Yeah.
So things are changing so fast that if the founders and the CEOs don't have their ear to the ground and ability to transform the company every single year and disrupt yourself, you'll not exist as a company.
So, you know, and this longevity and the company life cycle, forget product life cycle, tech life cycle, the company life cycle has changed dramatically. I mean, from 67 years, which used to be the average, you know, going back 4 or 5 decades, it's now down to 17, 20 years. How do you operate? How do you make choices when you know that things are changing so quickly?
Because you have to take risk. People forget that just because you have created an asset, you can't rest on your laurels because the market will going to change in front of you. And the single most task of the CEO is to lead the market transition as opposed to be left behind and catching up.
So what's the mechanism? I mean, you know, how much of it is gut, how much of it is, just reading the tea leaves and connecting the dots? How do you decide what you believe the market transition is likely to be, which you should bet on?
It's as simple as thinking about Gita. What does Gita say? Forget your past. And every day is a new day. And discover from the first principles, why are you relevant today? So as a business, you have to do 3 things. Number 1, the things that are working, super amplify that thing. Then things that are somewhat working, make it work. And then third thing is that things that don't exist today, go create a portfolio of risk so that things that don't exist today, can you create something in the next couple of years that will somewhat work?
How much of your time is going in creating those opportunities for the future?
That's where I spend all my time because things that are working, that are already working, I need to figure out things that would work 3 years or 5 years from today.
So as you look at the space that you operate in, first of all, explain to everybody what Rubrik does exactly in the area of cybersecurity and cyber resilience. What's that one big differentiator that you have that sets you apart from your competitors, from your peers?
Rubrik is a cybersecurity company, and our fundamental thinking was that cybersecurity company is mispositioned because it is focusing on stopping attacks. You can't stop the unstoppable. Some attacks will get in. So how do you ensure that banks continue to dole out money, hospitals are remaining open, kids can go to college or school? Because you want to keep your service up and running.
Yeah.
That's what Rubrik does. We deliver cyber resilience so that you can remain operational even when attacked by cyber attacks such as ransomware. And that's what we are focused on. And as the market is evolving, we are focused on delivering the cyber availability, data availability wherever you are. And in the world of AI, all it matters is data. Because if you don't have right data, you don't have confidence in the data, your AI models will have garbage in, garbage out.
You talked about AI, and let me ask you this in the context of what we just recently suffered, which was this big global outage that took place on account of CrowdStrike. And that sort of, has brought the question back on the issue of decentralization and whether that is the way forward. I mean, how do you look at it?
If you look at what happened, CrowdStrike is a great partner, George is a good friend. We jointly helped hundreds of our customers get back online. See, the issue is not about decentralization or centralization. We live in an interconnected global economy, and there is no getting away from it. Businesses so far has been on this race of productivity and doing digital transformation to gain more productivity, gain competitive advantage in the marketplace. But you can't just do digital transformation. You have to bring cybersecurity focus, because more digital transformation means more surface area of attack, attracting more adversary. So how do you protect your business against industrial espionage, against nation-state actors, and making sure that your cyber resiliency, your digital transformation has cyber resiliency. Otherwise, your confidence in digital transformation will not be there.
So as you said, attacks are not in your control. They're unstoppable. You just have to ensure that you fortify yourself to be able to deal with them. How are companies addressing this issue? How are companies dealing with this challenge? And what are we talking about today? I mean, we've seen the quantum of attacks go up, whether it's nation states or non-state actors or so on and so forth. I mean, what are we talking about today, and how do you see this changing over the next few months, forget next few years?
Businesses are focused on making sure that they have the technology to be able to keep their services up and running, which means that you need to have cyber resiliency platform. You need to transform your legacy backup and recovery into a data security platform to be able to deliver cyber recovery. And that's the answer, because you can't be assuming that just because you have taller walls and wider moats that the attacks will not come to you. It's coming to you because you have a motivated adversary sitting in countries where they are going to office every single day thinking about how to attack and how to extract money from you. So as a business, you need to think about how to fight fire with fire, how to apply AI and latest technology to be able to defend yourselves and keep your services up and running. Otherwise, your digital trust will erode.
You know, talking about AI now, and everyone's talking about this being the big opportunity, the great leveler. Some conversation also around the disruption, what it's going to mean for jobs. You know, how are you looking at what AI means for you at Rubrik, what AI means for the industry, but also what AI means for customers, for consumers like me?
Look, AI is being used by bad actors to attack. So we as a cybersecurity industry have to use AI to defend. And that's what Rubrik is focused on. We have been doing AI for the last 10 years in terms of machine learning. Last couple of years we have been building products and on generative to be able to really lower the barrier. One of the most important problems to solve in cybersecurity is talent shortage. How do you ensure that AI can fill that gap and deliver automation, handhold customers to the digital outcome? So that's the focus, because AI is all about productivity. But then the issue is how far the productivity will go. Will this disrupt the knowledge economy? Because AI, it has the potential to disrupt the knowledge economy. But everybody now has to think, how does AI increase my productivity so that I can do more and usher into an era of abundance? If you look at India, AI could be a huge opportunity for India, because India could leapfrog the whole industrial era into a service and followed by service into an AI economy. It'll be disruptive, it'll create a lot of upheaval, but upheaval is where the success will be created. And in my mind, India has this opportunity to leverage this change, this chaos, this upheaval to really leapfrog into a...
So if somebody is looking at a startup today, and you know, we were just talking to John Chambers, and he was very clear that if you are starting up and you don't have an AI-enabled model, then you are going to face challenges in the future. So as someone who is going through this experience yourself, for somebody who's starting up, what would your advice be? How do you look at AI? What on AI, or what about AI do you believe that one should focus on today?
You have to be true to any technology phenomena that you're going after, and AI is no different. So when you say that you are going to create an AI product, AI has to be native, so that if you take AI out of your product will become unusable. And that is the true test, whether you are truly AI native company or not. So if you're a founder, you just can't layer AI on top of your existing product for extra productivity gain. You can't monetize that. Nobody is going to pay you money. You need to create net new productivity by being AI native, which the test is, if you take AI out, your product will become unusable.
So let me end by asking you, Bipul, you know, what does the next 5 years look like for you at Rubrik? You said that your job and the job of a CEO is to imagine the future. What does your vision board look like today?
I have this thesis about maximal thinking, where we imagine an undefined but massive goal and work every single day to transform the company, to transform the market, to get to that goal. I can't tell you how big Rubrik will be, but we'll be a huge company.
Well, we wish you the very best of luck with that huge ambition and aspiration, and thanks very much for joining us here on Young Turks. It's an absolute pleasure speaking with you. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Shereen. Really appreciate it.
Well, with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Young Turks. From all of us here on the team, goodbye. Many thanks for watching.